Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm taking a look at a new game called Warden's Will. This game was released on Steam on January 8th, 2025. Its regular price is $19.49 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, and is developed and published by Elizio. This is a fast-paced movement shooter roguelite, playable solo or in up to 3-player co-op. Choose your warden, master unique movements and abilities, and overpower hordes of robots in intense battles. Fly, dash, smash, and turn bullet hell into bullet heaven. So I got an email about this game, and I thought it looked pretty fun. I thought it looked good and stylish, and thought it was worth taking a look at. Elephant in the room, obviously I thought this looked like Risk of Rain 2. It's very, very similar to Risk of Rain 2. The developers even say that Risk of Rain 2 was obviously an inspiration for them for this game. I've played just under an hour so far, and yeah, it's probably too close to Risk of Rain 2, honestly. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed it, because going into it, I wasn't expecting too much. I was definitely just expecting it to be a Risk of Rain 2, but not as good. But it was surprisingly fun, surprisingly intense. I got pretty into it, and the time I spent with it really flew by. So when you start the game, you are kind of in like this tutorial lobby hub world where you can choose your hero, your warden, and you can also choose the weapon. When you start the game, for the first time, you've got one hero unlocked and one of two weapons to choose from. One shoots little ice rounds and one shoots like bigger fire rounds, basically. And so you choose those and then you hop into the game. And right away it does do something different from Risk of Rain. Your weapon has a heat mechanic. You know, you don't have to reload your weapon, but if you shoot your primary attack too much, then your weapon will overheat, and you'll have to wait for it to cool back down before you can attack again. But what you can do with the heat is you can use your secondary attack, which is right-click on mouse and keyboard, and that lets you use that built-up heat energy as kind of a secondary ammo source. So that's a really, really cool idea, and I got on really well using the ice gun to shoot little ice pellets and build up the heat meter, and then shoot out these quite long-range, heavy fireballs, and I thought that was a very good weapon. You also get an ultimate ability on Q. The character I played acted a little bit like Overwatch's Soldier 76, where you toggled it, or maybe McCree, I guess, where you toggle it and then you kind of mouse over enemies, and as you mouse over them, it'll lock on. And when you fire with left click, it'll shoot rockets at all of those enemies, and it's very strong. And you also have another like minor ability on E. Those are just little grenades that I would drop like right behind me. And when you load in, basically your goal in the first stage at least is to find 3 transmitters and activate them all, basically. They're randomly generated throughout the level, and you have to use just a currency that you get from killing enemies to power the transmitters up. And once you've powered all 3 transmitters up, then the ending portal will open and you can go on to the next stage. A nice feature is once you activate any of the transmitters, they will give you kind of a hint of the vague direction. I mean, I guess it's the exact direction of another transmitter, but sometimes like that directional line will go through a wall, so you'll just kind of have to guess where it's going to come out. But yeah, it does make it decently doable to find all the transmitters. All the time, obviously, enemies are spawning all around you, just like Risk of Rain. And you can also activate these, I think they're called like Void Rifts or something like that, which are like little challenge portals, which will summon a group of tougher enemies, and if you kill them all, you get a bunch of money that you use to get power-ups and stuff, and also the currency you need to power the transmitters. Very similar to Risk of Rain, you'll also find these like beacons where you can use your money and buy, they call them augments in this game. And when you activate them, you get a choice of 3 different augments, and you press like 1, 2, or 3 to choose the effect you want, basically. And you can get some really cool ones, like the first one I got was like every 10 seconds a little rocket will fire at an enemy. Pretty cool. And throughout the map you'll also find these different colored crystals. And the crystals do different things depending on their color. So if you attack a green crystal and then walk into the remnants of it, it'll heal you. And the amount it heals depends on how big the crystal is. Some of them are like made up of like 5 different smaller crystals, and that'll heal you a bunch. Other times you'll just find like a small crystal and that'll just heal you a little bit. You can also find blue crystals, which will give you armor points, you know, temporary armor that when it's decreased or depleted, it won't recover. And there's also 2 other colors, there's yellow and like an orange. I did turn on a colorblind mode because it was actually clearer for me. So they might not be those colors in most people's games. And one of those gives you a temporary damage boost, and actually I have no idea what the other one did. Another thing this game does different from Risk of Rain 2 is it's very, very focused on movement, particularly vertical upward movement. You can, at least with the character I was playing, you can press shift to toggle this almost like Iron Man jetpack mode, where you can really just fly right up into the sky and cruise along for a good period of time. You can double jump, you can dash with alt. So the movement's really cool, and the map is really quite vertical, and it's a huge map, and I definitely got lost trying to find the transmitters sometimes, but being able to just rocket right up into the top of the map and have a look down and try and spot it is a really great feature. If you manage to activate all the transmitters, like I said, the exit portal, it's called a breach, will activate, and once you fly into that, you get instantly taken into a boss battle, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting it to be like Risk of Rain and just move on to another stage. But yeah, I got sent right into a boss battle. I was very low on health when I got there, so I was not prepared to fight him at all. And it didn't go great. I did some damage, but not very much at all. So that was, you know, another way it shakes it up. I think Risk of Rain maybe had bosses like right at the end or something, but I guess, you know, you get a boss at the end of each stage anyway, so it just didn't separate them. But I did see on the Steam reviews that somebody said there's actually only 2 bosses, which is not a ton of variety if you're, you know, getting one every other stage pretty much. One of my criticisms that I have for the game, apart from just being too close to Risk of Rain 2 in general, is that healing felt a little bit too difficult to come by. There were a lot of instances where I was quite low on health and I just wasn't able to find a green healing crystal to recover my health at all. And that, you know, that's why I went into the boss fight with like 30 out of 100 health, because I just wasn't able to find any healing. And so before this video, I hadn't played Risk of Rain 2 since 2022, so quite a long time. And after I recorded my Warden's Will footage, I hopped into Risk of Rain 2 to see how similar it was. And yeah, it really is extremely similar. Risk of Rain 2 definitely does healing better, because I was just like constantly at full health. I had like so many ways of healing. A bunch of my like power-ups and items, augments in Warden's Will, were, you know, dropping healing whenever I killed an enemy, things like that. I don't have too much more to say about the game, really. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting this to be, you know, you see a lot of these, I don't want to say knockoff, but you do see a lot of games that are obviously just mimicking a more popular game. There was one that popped up somewhat recently, which was just a horribly bad-looking version of The Witcher 3. And you do see these kinds of copies of popular games. And so I do think this is a bit more than that. Like, it does do some unique things, but like gameplay, presentation, HUD, art style to an extent is all so similar to Risk of Rain 2. It's always going to be compared to Risk of Rain 2. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, as soon as you open up the store page, it looks like Risk of Rain 2, completely. And yeah, when you play it, it does do some unique things. It does feel a little distinct, but like playing them back to back, very, very similar in the end. But having said that, I did think it was pretty good. I did have a lot of fun with it. The time flew by, surprisingly intense, And yeah, it was satisfying to play. Like it plays well. There you go, that was a look at Warden's Will. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!